Welcome back. We're continuing to follow that breaking news out of Delphi, Indiana. Richard Allen, the man convicted of killing Abby Williams and Liberty German back in 2017, has been sentenced by a judge to 130 years. That was the max that he could receive as a punishment. We understand that Judge Francis Gull gave him 65 years for the killing of Abby Williams and 65 years for the killing of Liberty German. He has a time credit, time served of 786 days since he was arrested years after this killing. This case was a cold case before we were able to see an arrest happen, and now that conviction, of course, that happened November 11th. Today was the day for sentencing. No cameras inside of that courtroom, but we did have our own Court TV senior producer, Barbara McDonald, who has been covering this case from the very beginning and has been our eyes and ears throughout this case. Barbara, tell me what it was like inside of that courtroom learning this sentence from the judge for Richard Allen.
It was interesting to watch. It didn't last anywhere near as long as it was scheduled for. The judge had blocked out the entire day for this sentencing hearing, and then yesterday the defense filed a sentencing memo saying that they weren't going to present any witnesses or say much of anything, and they didn't. So that significantly cut down how long things took today, but it was just over an hour from when we got started. The prosecution called one witness, the lead investigator, Jerry Holman from Indiana State Police, and he talked about some of the aggravating factors and just how brutal this murder was and callous for Richard Allen to go out there that day and lay in wait for these two young girls to come by and then kidnap them with the intent of either sexually assaulting or killing them. One of the things that we did hear from 6 family members in victim impact statements, and Becky Patty, Liberty German's grandmother, very emotional throughout the process today, and she read probably the longest victim impact statement, and it was maybe 10 or 12 minutes. And one of the things that she talked about, which really resonated with the judge here today, was the generational trauma to their families that this murder has caused for them. And not just the murder, but also the sloppy release of or theft of crime scene photos from one of the defense attorney's offices that are still apparently available on the internet if you search for them. And she talked about how Libby's nieces and nephews and extended family members, years from now, when they want to know what happened and they Google the case, they're going to be exposed to those images. And the judge said she's been sitting on the bench for 27 years, and she has presided over some of the most heinous cases in Indiana, and she said she had never considered that generational aspect before of the trauma caused by a crime like this, and she said that really resonated with her. And she talked to Richard Allen about that as well. He was given a few opportunities to speak. He didn't say much more than yes or no when asked questions. He didn't make any statements today. The prosecution, of course, asked for the maximum sentence. The defense had asked in their memo filed yesterday for a reasonable sentence, and the judge did give Richard Allen the max sentence of 130 years, saying of those most heinous cases in the state of Indiana that she has presided over, Richard Allen is right up there. She did not ask him to stand for his sentencing. He remained seated, and as she talked to him, she said at one point, you know, these families will deal with your carnage forever. And then she kind of paused, looking at him, and then she said, and you sit here and you roll your eyes at me as you have throughout this trial. So clearly not making a good impact on the judge today. Again, that 130-year sentence. He has 30 days to appeal, and he will be appointed public defenders for that process. Julia?
Barbara, you got to observe Richard Allen every day of this trial. The rolling eyes is surprising to me. Did he do that today, or was she just reacting to all of the days during the trial that she saw that?
It appeared from how she paused before she said that he was rolling his eyes at her in that moment. His back was to the members of the media, so we couldn't see his face. I never noticed during the trial him rolling his eyes at her, but I didn't see his face a lot during the trial because of where we were seated. We were seated either off to the side or directly behind him. But she did make that comment in open court on the record that he had been doing that to her throughout the trial. He definitely looked different today. He was not dressed in civilian clothes. He was wearing an orange jumpsuit. He was shackled. But even his face, you know, during the trial, he had looked a lot healthier. His mental health has been an issue throughout his life, actually. And he looked again like he's definitely going through some things. He did not look well. He didn't look as relaxed as he did at times during his trial. There were a lot of members of Abby and Libby's families in attendance. When we first got into court, there were quite a few boxes of tissue up on the railing between the well of the court and the gallery, and several members of the family did go and grab those boxes. There was also a box for them up on the podium for those who did speak. One of the other speeches, victim impact statements, was from Josh Lank, who is one of Libby's first cousins, and said that he was really more of her brother growing up. They were always together, always spending time together after school. And he talked about, you know, just his hatred for Richard Allen and what he has caused, the damage and the fear that he has instilled in their families that exist to this day. And he said, I really hope that as you spend the rest of your days, you're living in the same kind of fear that the girls had to experience and that we've had to experience. A lot of harsh words from the families, a lot of tears, and a lot of really deep emotion. The gag order is now lifted. It's my understanding that at least one member of Libby's family will be talking at a press conference that should be happening here fairly shortly. The prosecutor, Nicholas McClelland, the superintendent of state police, Doug Carter, and I believe the Carroll County Sheriff, Tony Liggett, will all be speaking at that. Questions, I'm told, will be limited.
All right.
Julia?
Final question, Barb, and thank you for all the information that you've shared. We'll be standing by for that press conference. The appeal, I understand that we now know sort of what kind of attorney he's going to get.
He's going to get a public defender. He is still indigent. The judge asked him today if he had intended to hire an attorney. He said no. His defense team did file, his trial defense team did file a motion yesterday asking the judge to send the case to the Indiana Public Defenders Council for multiple attorneys to be appointed. They say the mountain of evidence that's available in this case is such that any one attorney is not going to be able to successfully appeal this case in the time frame that is allowed. So they're asking for multiple attorneys to be appointed. The judge did not comment on that part of their motion today.
We will see what happens next for Richard Allen. Barbara McDonald, thank you for your reporting on this case.